All right, well, Cenk and Anna, how you guys doing? All right, I'm in a fun mood. All right, speaking of fun, hey, guess what we're gonna do next Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern? Dr. Cenk is in the house. So here's the situation.
Oh my God.
I love that one where I'm thinking about things and not on the right. All right, so these are, I'm gonna tell you how to be happy. Is that absurd? Of course it's absurd. But you're gonna watch it and then you're gonna be like, damn, that was actually really good. That was weird, right? And but you need to participate. So what we need from you guys is videos asking me questions, but not about politics, okay? This is totally off the board. About personal life, like imagine like I'm Dr. Laura, but a good guy, and don't worry, I won't yell at you, okay? In fact, I'll try to help you, okay? Do I have to clarify that I'm not an actual doctor? I don't have to clarify.
Yeah,
that,
I think you probably should, just in case. Just in case.
Okay. I do have a doctorate in kicking ass, though. All right, anyways, here's how you're gonna submit videos and questions. Go at tyt.com. Go at tyt.com, not that one. That's good, you should donate through that, that you're seeing the lower third. But this one is different. Go at tyt.com to submit videos, ideally comments if not. All right, and speaking of that URL, though, let me see a thermometer. Can I see a thermometer? Can I see how we're doing? Are we healthy? All right, we're 61,000. Can I see 62? We got to get to 200. Are we going to make it? It doesn't look like it. We're at almost halfway through the month. We had an election. That didn't help. Okay, tyt.com/go. You are the Young Turks. I love doing the show with you guys. All right, speaking of which, let's do it, Anna. What do you got?
Yes, all right. Well, let's start off with a little bit of fun, then we'll get to the serious news. GOP Congressman Matt Gaetz can't seem to control himself when it comes to Tiffany Trump. Recently, she posted an image of herself in a bright red pantsuit in a strange location with repetitive, weird furniture in the background. But nonetheless, he seemed to really like it and quote tweeted it with a bunch of questionable emojis like the fire emoji, the heart emoji, and the happy face with heart eyes emoji, and even a thumbs up. Now, there is some question, there's some debate as to whether Matt Gaetz is setting a good example for his adult son, Nestor. But nonetheless, this isn't the first time he has put out such content. Previously, in May of 2020, he also responded to a Donald Trump tweet regarding Tiffany Trump graduating from Georgetown Law. And he said, Tiffany is a beautiful person inside and out. It's so great to see her success. Big things coming.
Oh, geez, Lord mercy. Come on, man. Have some decency. You're a United States congressman. I mean, that was not veiled very well at all. Okay.
Will someone please think of Nestor here?
I know. And I'm so glad you brought that up because Tiffany's got to realize if she gets in a relationship, he's already got almost a grown son. And so she's got to adjust to that. She's got to be careful about that and stuff. Think about these things. By the way, she has a boyfriend who probably right now is like so mad that the entire country, wow, a tiny sliver of the country, is having a conversation about how a congressman is openly and brazenly hitting on his girlfriend.
It's pretty insane. Listen, the only appropriate response to that tweet and Matt Gaetz's behavior on Twitter is what John said, and here's how he put it. He says, "This is the thirst heard around the world."
John, I'd roll it for the win.
Yes.
Dragon Squad, Dracarys. Thirst heard around the world. All right, so I'm gonna needlessly rank the emojis. Out of the ones that all of them, the most inappropriate one is the smiley face with the hearts in the eyes.
100%.
Right?
100%.
Because like heart could mean like, oh, hey, much love. Fire is like, hey, fire. Okay, that's no problem, right? Not a smiley face with the hearts in the eyes means like, you're beautiful inside and out. And I don't even want to repeat the last line Gaetz said. Okay, and stay on here for a second because our producer Ashwarya made a great point about this. This also looks like a picture she took in the hotel at The Shining. Like you almost want to tell her, get out now. Okay, here's Maddie.
Oh my gosh.
All right.
All right.
Jeez.
Now we get to the dumpster fire that is the serious news of the day. Thought we would just start off with a little bit of fun. So let's begin with Karl Rove. Karl Rove is whining about the fact that maybe if you were part of a team of people who enabled some of Donald Trump's worst characteristics and traits, you shouldn't be able to use your experience within the Trump administration to get other high-paying jobs. That was something that was proposed by Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who tweeted, "Is anyone archiving these Trump sycophants for when they try to downplay or deny their complicity in the future? I foresee decent probability of many deleted tweets, writings, photos in the future." And there's like this, this sense that, hey, if you did enable Donald Trump, maybe you don't deserve a job within a government, a federal government that's led by a Democrat like Joe Biden. I don't think that's a far-fetched idea to have, but Karl Rove is very, very disturbed by this. Here's what he had to say.
Former Obama campaign spokesman is now promoting an apparent effort to blackball Trump administration staffers. Tweeting, quote, "Caitlin Collins, who works for CNN, just reported White House staff are starting to look for jobs. Employers considering them should know there are consequences for hiring anyone who helped Trump attack American values." Karl Rove joins us now, a former White House Deputy Chief of Staff and a Fox News contributor. Karl, what do you think about that? Good morning.
I think it's fascism. I think it is over the top. I think it's unacceptable in this country that political differences can be dealt with in such a way. Imagine what would happen if a Tea Party activist had said people who served in the Obama administration, there'll be consequences for hiring them. The media would be outraged. We ought to be outraged at this. This is un-American. As to this talk of let's find people who worked in the Trump administration and let's tell any potential employer there will be consequences for you if you hire them so they can have a salary to feed their family and to live a life after serving our country. This is reprehensible, and as Americans, we ought to all join and say, no, this is wrong. This is blacklisting. This is un-American.
Let me make one thing very clear. No one is proposing reaching out to potential employers and telling them that if they hire certain individuals, there'll be a price to pay. What? No one is saying that. No one has suggested that. But I do think that some people are going to try to launder their image after the Trump administration. And as AOC perfectly pointed out, we shouldn't allow them to do that. They should be held accountable for what they enabled during the Trump era, period. That's the way that it should work.
Yeah, so there's three different issues here. First of all, what AOC originally pointed out was they're gonna try to pretend like it was no big deal and they didn't really agree with Donald Trump. You know it, I know, we've said it for the last 4 years. And our point is, don't let him get away with it. So is she right? She's 1,000,000,000% right. So what are we supposed to pretend? Kellyanne Conway didn't work for Donald Trump and didn't help his fascist government? No, Karl Rove talking about fascism. Oh man, they break irony on a daily basis, right? You work for war criminals, Karl. So spare me the lecture about how the left wing is fascist. It's absurd. No, all we're saying is understand who these people are. So don't hide. Now, all these people, when they were working for Trump, they were very proud. Oh, Trump, and they love to bully people and they love to push people around. Now they're like, oh, please don't tell anybody I worked for Trump. No deal. No deal at all. No, we will tell people you work for Trump. Now, secondly, does that mean that they shouldn't ever be hired by anyone? No, but should they be hired by Joe Biden or any Democratic administration? Hell no. Why would you hire a Trump lackey, crony,
bootlicker,
idiot, fascist right winger? Why would any Democrat in their right mind ever do that? So the answer to that is hell no. So if these Trump people come around and go, oh, well, we should be hired by the government. No deal, no interest. Clean up, go home, all right? Go work for Bolsonaro or the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia or some other fascist dictator that like the one you were trying to work for. And then in terms of the blacklist, like, hey, a third layer of this, an actual blacklist where you say, all right, no one should ever hire them. Let us note that is exactly what the Democratic Party did to progressives. Literally, very literally. So they said if any progressive organization or company works with a primary challenger, to an incumbent Democrat, they will be blacklisted forever and never get a job in this town again. And did Washington freak out? Did Fox News flip out? Did CNN flip out? Because Jake Tapper's flipping out too. He's like, oh no, my Republican friends, don't do this to them. Hey, Jake, did you do that when they blacklisted literally? And it wasn't like, hey, a tweet that's misinterpreted. It was an official policy of the Democratic Party. Did you flip out? No, because you don't have any friends in the cocktail circuit that are progressives. And they're outside of power, so you like to kick down, whether you're Karl Rove or Jake Tapper, you don't care, right? But Republicans do have power. So all of Washington is aflutter over this alleged blacklist. Oh my God, what will we do? Where will we get our millions of dollars? Oh, we're all brokenhearted over it. I mean, guys, remember, right now, they're in the middle of denying that Joe Biden won the election. They're trying, with zero evidence, trying to steal an election, end democracy, and destroy America. And we're supposed to have sympathy about their career prospects going forward. But to the people inside the club, it doesn't matter which team you were on. The only thing that matters is you're inside the club, and you will always be protected. People outside the club with no power will always kick you when you're down and never help you. That's who Karl Rove is, and by the way, also who Jake Tapper is.
So let's also note for the record that Donald Trump has threatened lower level staffers within the administration with firing them if they send their resumes out. So if they're looking for another job and they're not properly loyal to Donald Trump, he will fire them. Anyone who doesn't go along with everything that Donald Trump believes or wants gets fired from his administration, but that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah. And it's such a great point. These are the guys crying crocodile tears over people not getting jobs. If a scientist said something that was true, Donald Trump would fire them on the spot if it didn't match his propaganda. He just fired the defense secretary because he wouldn't use the military in an illegal fashion against United States citizens inside the country. And he fired him because he hurt his feelings. And we're supposed to catch feelings on behalf of Trump loyalist cronies? Hell to the no. Okay, but keep crying, Carl. Keep crying, rest of mainstream media. You guys have no credibility at all. Not one of you spoke out against an actual blacklist in Washington.
Well, one of the things that Karl Rove seems to be concerned about is the number of progressive lawmakers or progressives who just got elected to be lawmakers throughout the country. People like Jamal Bowman, Cori Bush. And so he brought out his whiteboard to fearmonger about them on Fox. Let's take a look at what he had to say.
Then we got Cori Bush, Mrs. Bush from Baltimore, I believe it is, Maryland. And she says she wants to fund social services by defunding the police and the military. In fact, in October, she tweeted, if you're having a bad day, just think of all the social services we're going to fund after we defund the Pentagon, end quote. That's the kind of representation we're now seeing taking up their membership in the U.S. House of Representatives in the Democratic caucus. And that's why Nancy Pelosi is sitting there. Think about this. Nancy Pelosi just recently referred to herself about, she said, well, we're having in an instance, a controversy between the moderates and the progressives. When did you think you'd ever hear Nancy Pelosi described as a moderate? I mean, she was a left-winger when she came to Congress, and now the left wing is about 100 yards to the left of her. It's unbelievable what's happening to the House Democrats.
Nancy Pelosi was a big fundraiser for the Democratic Party prior to her getting elected into Congress. She was always in favor of corruption. She was a big part of that corruption. To refer to her as left wing ever in her career is ridiculous. But anyway, that was amazing. Of course, a war hawk like Karl Rove would freak out at the thought of private military contractors getting some of their government funding cut so we can actually help provide social services for the American people, especially during a time when literally tens of millions of Americans are still unemployed because of the pandemic. But luckily, people like Cori Bush aren't about to get intimidated by war criminals like Karl Rove. And she's a fighter, and that was definitely clear during a recent interview on MSNBC. Let's hear what she had to say.
This is not breaking up the caucus. Let me just say, we are fine. I have a relationship with all of the people on the caucus. A lot of them that are saying, that this was hurtful. But what's hurtful for me is the people in my community dying. What's hurtful is St. Louis being #1 for police killing since 2013 for 6 years straight, according to some research that we keep having this happen. We have this super aggressive police department, and they don't get to continue to just kill Black folks in my community and I not say anything. So yes, defund your butts. Defund you. Take that money that we're using for MRAPs, the money that we're using for tear gas and stockpiling SWAT gear. We're going to take that money and put it into substance use programs. We're going to put it into education and mental health resources. We're going to take it and use it for our unhoused population. We are reallocating funds. I'm not trying to hurt anybody's district, anybody from keeping their seats. I'm not looking at feelings, though. I'm looking at life.
I'm not looking at feelings, I'm looking at life. I love it. That's why having people like Cori Bush, unapologetically progressive in Congress, makes a big difference. But if you notice, by the way, if she did mention her colleagues, because instantly, as soon as you win, the pressure begins. Oh, your beloved church colleagues. She talked about it later in the interview too. What about their districts? What about their districts? I told you, the second you win, no, you have to change your entire agenda. You have to not care about your own voters, and you only have to care about what conservative Democrats think. No deal at all. I love that Cori Bush says no deal. And if you're wondering what she was referring to with defund your butts, that's what Joe Manchin said. Joe Manchin said defund your police, defund your butts, or defund my butt. Well, actually, I'd love to defund whatever you have. Okay, that would make my day. But look at this guy. Of course, Joe Manchin, theoretical Democrat from West Virginia, on critical votes like ending the filibuster, he says, no, I'm with the Republicans. On non-important votes, I'll be with the Democrats, and then I'll get the idiot Democratic Party to support me being a wolf in sheep's clothing and helping the Republicans with all their framing. Oh, the Republicans are so right. They're so right. The police are awesome. The way they kill Black people in this country is fantastic. I mean, look at how the disrespectful way that he talks. Doesn't care about minorities in this country at all, and says, I'll help Republicans to make sure that you guys get no protection. So I love that Cori Bush is striking back. But on Karl Rove, so oh my God, can you believe Nancy Pelosi is now considered a moderate? What did Nancy Pelosi ever do that was progressive? Literally, name it, you can't. Every mainstream media reporter is in love with her, and they'll be like, outraged. And then what? Name it. Name one thing she's done that's progressive. Oh, well, she got Romney care passed with a super majority. Wow. I'll do a Pelosi on that one. Okay. So no, and at best, she has moved massively right-wing in her career after raising $720 million from donors. But I think Anna's right. She was right-wing from the beginning. Now her main bragging point about being progressive is, I have a poster of universal health care in my basement from the 1960s. And what have you done with it? Since the 1960s, what have you done with it? The only thing you've ever done is help Republicans defeat it. She is 100% against Medicare for all and universal health care. That's who Nancy Pelosi is. And then, bottom line though, the Rove appearance, I like it. And so why? He's telling people, now remember, Cori Bush is against the endless wars. Can you believe it? Actually, Republicans and Fox viewers are against the endless wars. She wants to spend less than the other 10 biggest countries, biggest armies combined. Can you believe it? And she doesn't want to give all of our money, your kids' money, to defense contractors who are my friends. Can you believe it? Meanwhile, everybody's going, that's Cori Bush sounds pretty good. And she doesn't want the cops to murder innocent Black people. The liberals, progressives, they're crazy. But keep on doing it, brother. All you're doing is helping us.
Also, it's worth mentioning that Cori Bush is not from Baltimore. So
she's from St. Louis. She's from Missouri. She led the Ferguson protest. She led protests in St. Louis. She just beat Lacey Clay. But he sees a Black person and he thinks Baltimore. God, they're unreal, man.
They can't help themselves. They really can't. All right, let's take our first break. When we come back, you are going to love dunking on the CNN segment that we have for you. We have a Democratic lawmaker who says we need to govern from the center. How did the hosts over at CNN react to it? We'll show you that and more when we return.
We need to talk about a relatively new show called the Republic, or UNFTR. As a Young Turks fan, you already know that the government, the media, and corporations are constantly peddling lies that serve the interests of the rich and powerful. But now there's a podcast dedicated to unraveling those lies, debunking the conventional wisdom. In each episode of On the Republic, or UNFTR, the host delves into a different historical episode or topic that's generally misunderstood or purposely obfuscated by the so-called powers that be, featuring in-depth research, razor-sharp commentary, and just the right amount of vulgarity. The UNFTR podcast takes a sledgehammer to what you thought you knew about some of the nation's most sacred historical cows. But don't just take my word for it. The New York Times described UNFTR as consistently compelling and educational, aiming to challenge conventional wisdom and upend the historical narratives that were taught in school. For as the great philosopher Yoda once put it, you must unlearn what you have learned. And that's true whether you're in Jedi training or you're uprooting and exposing all the propaganda and disinformation you've been fed over the course of your lifetime. So search for UNFTR in your podcast app today and get ready to get informed, angered, and entertained all at the same time.
All right, back on the Young Turks. First, check out tyt.com/trees for lots and lots of trees. No, it shows you how you're going to save the world. Whoa. Your change leads to real change. Check it out at tyt.com/trees. Okay, now let's check the thermometer real quick, see how we're doing. We were trying to get to 62,000, didn't do it. Went up by about 300, but didn't get to 62. Can I see 62? Is it possible? tyt.com/go. Keep us healthy, strong, and get that progressive message out there. Thank you guys. A bad Mukerfuther writes in, he's in the member section. Apparently, establishment Dems' idea of police reform entails tone policing and thought policing progressives. Bingo. Nice job. We go into super chat. Gerald DeBose says, Salty Dragon and Justice Dragon, love you both, and thank you for doing what you do daily. Well, thank you. You make this show possible. And Teja writes in, I'd rather give money to TYT than some corporate stooge. TYT voices messages from multiple walks of life. We can't all agree on everything. Keep working towards a positive change. Thank you. And then I like the last line. Cenk's a good guy. But thank you. You're a good guy. I appreciate it. Be a good guy. Become a member. Don't be a bad guy. Be a good guy. All right. Hit the join button below on YouTube. And everyone else, tyt.com/join. And for the YouTube folks and Twitch folks, we put out your names on the ticker below, so check that out. Look at that, for example, and some of your comments. On Twitch, by the way, an anonymous cheer donated 1,000 bits. You're kind of awesome. Irie Man donated 1,600 bits. You're definitely awesome. And Joshua 1977 gave 500 bits. No, seriously, everyone, whoever gives $1, a bit, it doesn't matter. We love you guys, and then you become part of the Young Turks, and we do this show together. Casper.
All right. Democratic Senator Dick Durbin was on CNN this morning to talk about how he plans on leading and governing in the Senate, especially at a time when things are so polarized. And his answer was something that the hosts over at CNN absolutely loved. Let's see if you loved it, though.
House Democrats lost seats, and some moderate Democrats are blaming the progressive, the more left wing of the party. Did that hurt the party?
Well, it was used by the Republicans very effectively in a lot of races. Even if Democrats had not said those words or gotten even
but there
close
were
to
some Democrats in the House who did say those words.
Here's what I think. You've got to govern from the center. We want to move toward the progressive agenda, of course. Expanding the opportunity for health care is a good example of that. But are we going to move straight into Medicare for all? Of course not. That's not on the horizon in a near term based on the results of this election. Let's achieve what we can, help as many Americans as we can, particularly at this moment in history.
Appreciate your time this morning. Good luck to all of you because America is counting on all of you. Thanks, Senator.
Thanks, Bobby.
Jim.
Okay, great interview. Govern from the center, he said.
Great interview. Govern from the center, he said.
Yeah, they love that. That's corporate media catnip. They're like, oh, govern from the center. Oh, that tastes so good. Oh, yummy for my tummy. You know what happens in the center?
Nothing.
Exactly. Nothing happens in the center. You know what happens then? The status quo is protected. Well, why do CNN anchors love that? Oh, they're already rich and powerful. And if nothing changes, they remain rich and powerful. Oh, you're getting $7.25 working at Walmart? What do CNN anchors care about that? What do Democratic senators care about that? Republicans already loathe you. So, and then anytime somebody like us speaks out for you, they're like, oh, they're so uncivil. Oh, they're barbarians, the way they want to actually help real people instead of the people who are already rich and powerful. It's an outrage, govern from the center. Oh, by the way, has anyone at CNN ever read a poll? And I'm picking on CNN here because he was on CNN.
I feel like that's all CNN does.
No, not at all, Anna. That's not at all true.
Like Nate Silver polls on the election.
No. When it comes to polling of the election, the horse race, they're all over it. They love polls. You're right about that. But when it comes to polls about the issues, never. They'll even ignore their own polls. I remember when they had a poll that had over 70% popularity for the public option during Obamacare fight, and they then, the segment after they showed their own poll, they said, now remember, the public option is very left wing and the country doesn't want it. Your own poll said over 70% want it. Right? Is over 70% of the country really left wing? No, they love the status quo. And then they wonder why people are mad at the establishment, why they pick populist candidates like Donald Trump. They're like, I don't get it. Well, that's because you're not paying attention. The center of the country is not the center of Washington. The center of Washington is massively right wing. Right now, does the country want universal health care? Absolutely. Any poll. Go read it on universal health care, and Americans are screaming, yes, we want it, right? But everybody on cable news, everyone in Washington is like, no, the drug companies, did I say drug companies? No, they have nothing. The billions of dollars that they have given to the cable companies in advertisements, and the billions of dollars they've given to politicians in campaign contributions and through lobbyists. They say, are you saying that billions of dollars would affect how we think? Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. And yes, you are part of the corruption. You are. And so, and as usual, we have no choice. Dick Durbin in Washington, remember, he's the #2 Democrat in the Senate. In Washington, they say, oh, Dick Durbin's very left wing. The guy who just told you we're going to govern from the center of Washington. The center of Washington is meeting Mitch McConnell halfway. And by the way, you know Democrats, they won't meet him halfway. They'll meet him 3/4 of the way. They'll meet him 90% of the way. I have no interest in governing anywhere near what Mitch McConnell wants, which is always nonstop corruption and not at all what the American people want.
I just want to show you all some interesting data from opensecrets.org, one of my favorite resources when I want to understand what motivates and moves these politicians, people like Dick Durbin. And if you look at his campaign funding between 2015 and 2020, it's broken down by top industries. And in that list of top industries, you will see securities and investment, of course. So he's always gonna look out for Wall Street as long as they're buttering his bread. But you also have health professionals, which is why he's so against Medicare for all. Listen, in this country with legalized bribery, it's not even about ideology anymore. We keep playing this game where we pretend as though people like Dick Durbin wanna govern, period. They're not interested in governing, they're interested in maintaining their position of power. I don't know why, because they don't do anything valuable with that. They don't do anything substantive with that power. But in order to maintain that position of power, they need to play ball with the private healthcare industry. They need to play ball with Wall Street. They need to play ball with the very industries that have a vested interest in keeping things the same. Nothing will fundamentally change because the elite have decided that they don't want it to change. And so that's why we find ourselves in this situation right now. And oh wow, what a surprise that CNN anchors who get paid handsomely for reading a teleprompter don't want to pay more in taxes, so they love hearing about Democrats who want to govern from the center. Okay.
Yeah, look, I can show you literally dozens of polls where it very clearly shows the center of the country is very, very progressive on almost every issue. In fact, it's gonna be the first chapter in my book when it comes out. No joke, I already wrote it. It's an overwhelming case, okay? So now, I'll just give you one example for now. One of the most popular issues in the country is increasing taxes on the rich. It polls at over 80%. So that would be governing from the center, increasing taxes on the rich. Now, are you going to hear that from any Republicans? No way. Are you going to hear that from any CNN cable anchors? No way. Are you going to hear that from Democratic leadership? No way. What happened to governing from the center? Oh, you didn't mean that. You meant governing from our pocketbooks because of the bribes that we got from all these different industries. We don't work for you, we work for them. Corruption has been legalized and none of the mainstream media told you about it.
All right, well, let's move on to Trump's enablers because as we know, he still hasn't accepted the results of the election. Joe Biden still is not receiving intelligence briefings and the State Department is refusing to hand over various messages that Biden has received from foreign leaders who want to congratulate him on his win. Now, the reason why this is happening is because Donald Trump has refused to concede. And as a result, it is holding Biden back from being able to begin the transition process. And of course, these intel briefings are important. So as a result, you do have some senators who are saying, you know, Trump is totally right in challenging the results of the election. But Biden should probably get these intel briefings. One of the people who made that argument was Senator James Lankford from Oklahoma. He made this argument during a recent radio interview. Let's take a look.
I got to tell you, the national security is a concern because Mr. Biden is not getting the briefings that a president-elect would normally be getting at this stage in the process.
Yeah, and that should be resolved by Friday. GSA has to certify that election to start turning it around. The first day they can do that on the calendar is Friday. And when that occurs, they should actually step in. And I would tell you, I'm on a committee of oversight. I've already started engaging in this area. My first question was in 2000, what occurred in 2000 during that whole challenge? And what happened was President Clinton made available to, at that time, George Bush, the governor at that point, still in the process of running, the availability to start getting the briefings and to do that. There's nothing wrong with Vice President Biden getting the briefings to be able to prepare himself and so that he can be ready. The president's already getting those. There's nothing wrong with the former vice president getting those. Kamala Harris is on the Intelligence Committee. She has all the clearances that she needs to be able to do that. There is no loss from him getting the briefings and to be able to do that. And if that's not occurring by Friday, I will step in as well and to be able to push and to say this needs to occur so that regardless of the outcome of the election, whichever way that it goes, people can be ready for that actual task.
So this is basically Republican senators trying to have their cake and eat it too. On one hand, they try to appease the president by pretending as though he has legitimate concerns about widespread election fraud, even though the Trump campaign has lost every single court battle on this very issue because they failed to provide any evidence of it. But at the same time, you have a few senators, including Lankford, who are saying, yeah, maybe these intel briefings need to happen with Joe Biden. And there are a few others. Lankford joins a handful of Republican senators who have said the Democrat ought to be allowed to at least partially move forward with the transition, including Senators Pat Toomey, Susan Collins, Mike Rounds, Marco Rubio, and just today, Chuck Grassley joined that list. But I think it's important for people to visualize how pathetic this is. So let's look at this fun graphic that shows you the number of GOP senators who have not acknowledged what the reality is versus the number of GOP senators who have acknowledged the reality of the election.
Yeah, those four are the ones that said, yes, Biden has actually won the election. The rest, including Lankford and Grassley and them, say, well, I mean, maybe they should get the briefings, et cetera. But all these folks are still in the camp of nope. Even though Trump has presented absolutely no evidence in dozens of court cases about voter fraud, we are all going to pretend that he is not lying. We're all going to try to steal this election. We're all against democracy. All of the people that you're seeing there hate America, and they are right now 100% in favor of Donald Trump declaring himself the winner. They're all on that side, except for the ones with the check marks who have acknowledged, yes, This is in fact the results of the election. Rubio says maybe soon Biden should get intelligence briefings, but no, I still think Donald Trump is not wrong. Donald Trump right now tweeting like a raving lunatic that he won the election. He says, I got 72 million votes. Yes, but Joe Biden got 77 million votes. That's a fairly relevant fact that you left out, and you lost the Electoral College by a lot. And all of these enablers are saying, oh, you want to kill democracy and totally lie about it. Great, we're on board. And they say, well, a couple of weeks from now, we might get tired of trying to steal democracy when it looks like it's not gonna work. But for the moment being, if there's still a 1% chance that we could end America, we would love to do that. I think there's a word for that in the English language, when you actually go against your own country and try to kill it from within. I think you know what that word is.
And the same is true of Republican governors. Only a handful of them have acknowledged the reality of the election and its outcome. So let's take a look at that. As you can see, the majority of Republican governors refuse to acknowledge the outcome of the election, whereas about 5 of them have come out to acknowledge that Trump has lost. Only 5, and that includes Charlie Baker and also Governor-elect Spencer Cox of Utah, Mike DeWine of Ohio, Larry Hogan, and Phil Scott of Vermont. Those are the only ones who have come out to acknowledge that Trump lost the election.
So what's driving me crazy about the press and the Democratic Party is we know with great certainty. It's all over the internet. You could check and read the actual transcripts of the court cases yourself. Trump's lawyers don't want to be disbarred, so they're not allowed to lie in open court. Otherwise, their career is done. So the judges will ask them, okay, this is the moment in the case when you present evidence of fraud. And they say, we don't have any. And the judge says, wait, are you saying you don't have any evidence of fraud? And the lawyer says, yes. Why are you here? Because Trump sent them just so he could say he's in court. Oh, you wouldn't believe the fraud. You wouldn't believe the fraud. Yet you're right, I wouldn't believe it because you sent your lawyers and they admitted all over the country in every case that they have 0 evidence of fraud. So now press and Democrats, do you want to call the Republicans what they are? All of those Republicans know that for a fact, not the voters. The voters are rubes. They're like, oh, I think he won. They don't know, okay? So in a weird kind of way, I guess I'll let the Republican voters, I think they're less culpable than these Republican politicians who know for a fact that Donald Trump is lying, that Donald Trump is trying to steal the election, and that Donald Trump would end democracy today if he could. And they're saying, well, if we keep power, I would love it if you ended democracy. That's what every one of those Republican senators and governors are saying. But the press says, oh, well, no, Trump, oh, it's funny. It's a funny little curiosity. Oh, yeah, the fascist is trying to end democracy. Right now, as we speak, they won't even say that. Oh, it's so funny, it's so funny. Oh, the Republicans haven't acknowledged it yet. It's not funny, it's not a little curiosity. If he had any ability to do it, he would do it like that. Oh, it's actually a minor miracle that in a country of 330 million people, they can't find any fraud, right? Let alone enough to overturn states like Pennsylvania, where Biden has a nearly 50,000 vote lead. All of this is preposterous. Every one of those Republican senators is a liar and hates this country and would overturn our democracy in a second. They're tyrants and they should be called as such, but the press doesn't have the courage to do that, and the Democratic Party never ever makes their own case. And then they wonder why they lose to Republicans. This was your moment to tell the whole country and prove it beyond a shadow of a doubt that the Republican Party is un-American, that they prefer power to democracy. They're sick.
All right, when we come back from the break, one of my favorite topics is how all of these strong men surrounding Donald Trump are so easily intimidated by one of the most idiotic buffoons on the planet. So we'll give you the details on that and how National Security Advisor Robert O'Brien can't even handle Donald Trump. Sad. Come right back.
At TYT, we frequently talk about all the ways that big tech companies are taking control of our online lives, constantly monitoring us and storing and selling our data. But that doesn't mean we have to let them. It's possible to stay anonymous online and hide your data from the prying eyes of big tech. And one of the best ways is with ExpressVPN. ExpressVPN hides your IP address, making your active ID more difficult to trace and sell to advertisers. ExpressVPN also encrypts 100% of your network data to protect you from eavesdroppers and cyber criminals. And it's also easy to install. A single mouse click protects all your devices. But listen, guys, this is important. ExpressVPN is rated #1 by CNET and Wired magazine. So take back control of your life online and secure your data with a top VPN solution available, ExpressVPN. And if you go to expressvpn.com/TYT, you can get 3 extra months for free with this exclusive link just for TYT fans. That's expressvpn.com/TYT. Check it out today.
All right, back on the Young Turks, Cenk and Anna with you guys. All right, so let's take a look at the thermometer, see if we got to 62,000. That's what we're trying to get to today. Wrong, didn't get there. Okay, that actually needs to be updated. 61,886 is the correct number. Is that 62,000? Trump would say yes, but facts say no. No, we didn't quite get there. If we can, that would be amazing. TYT.com/go. You guys power this show. All right, by the way, if you give a big donation, check out TYT.com/press-on, because you can name things throughout the studio, and we love seeing your names in the hallways, the chairs, etc. All right, in our member section, Nick Mudar writes in, Republicans punch Dems in the face at every opportunity. When Dems get a chance to fight back and land punches, we can't stop punching ourselves in the face. Unfortunately, that's true. Nasty Habit says, name it, about me saying Nancy Pelosi, has she done anything progressive? And he does name it. He says, just ask the gay community in San Francisco when the first words out of Pelosi's mouth in Congress were in support of AIDS research at a time when no one was even talking about AIDS. Things changed drastically once she did that. Thank you, that's wonderful. And I appreciate you correcting us on that. And we, unlike anyone else in politics apparently, care about facts. So that's a good fact to bring up. I'll bring up that was what, 30 years ago, or was it 40 years ago? But nonetheless, it is something that she did that was progressive however many decades ago. Facts are facts. And last one is from Super Chat, where Colin writes in, are establishment Democrats basically no different from right-wingers? Conservatives in Canada are far more progressive by comparison, which shows just how right-wing mainstream American politics is. That's absolutely right. Compare us to any other developed country, Canada, Europe, Japan, and we are massively right-wing. Our Democrats would be considered the right wing of all of those countries.
All right, ready? Ready for another story?
Let's do it.
All right. National Security Advisor Robert O'Brien, who was laughably once considered a check on Donald Trump within the administration, is actually enabling his lunacy at this very moment. According to a lengthy report by the Daily Beast, officials say that O'Brien is supporting the president's bid to retain power, even though it is being waged through a nationwide disinformation campaign. Now, privately, according to the sources who spoke to the Daily Beast, O'Brien acknowledges that Donald Trump lost his re-election bid. In fact, he joked about it during a meeting on Monday morning of this week. However, publicly, it's a completely different story. O'Brien has pushed national security officials to publicly embrace the absurd Trump message that the election has not been certified and that there are still legal battles playing out across the country that could turn in the president's favor. But we all know that that's not true. We all know that Trump lost several states that he desperately needed in order to win the election, not by a few points, but by tens of thousands of votes in some cases. And even if you find a few isolated instances of voter fraud, which by the way, they still have not, you can't prove any widespread voter fraud, which is what Trump would have to prove. That's why all of the challenges that the Trump campaign has brought to court so far have been tossed out of court because there's no evidence. Anyway, let me give you more. One national security official told the Daily Beast, quote, if you even mention Biden's name, That's a no-go. You'd be fired. Everyone is scared of even talking about the chance of working with the Biden transition. Asked if officials in the White House feel comfortable saying Biden's name in the West Wing, one senior White House official said half jokingly, "Sure, you can say his name if you're talking about who lost the election to the president."
Think about how pathetic this is. You can't say the word Biden, the name Biden, in the White House because that's how fragile Donald Trump is. Oh, that's so sad. Did he say Biden? I'm so mad he said Biden. What a child, what a snowflake. You know what would happen if you said the word Biden? Donald Trump would be triggered. He needs a safe space.
Pobrecito.
Maybe he could go into his bunker. Are you okay, bunker boy? Did somebody say Biden? Did somebody say Biden? Oh, you're such a pathetic beta. All of you MAGA who follow this weakling. Who cares if somebody says Biden? They're worried about protecting his feelings. I thought facts didn't care about feelings. I was sure of it. Yet all of a sudden, the whole country is obsessed with Donald Trump's feelings. He's really the weakest man I have ever seen in politics.
No, but it is kind of amazing because we're not talking about Republican lawmakers here. We're talking about the national security advisor within Trump's administration. He's not someone who gets elected, right? So he's not worried about a re-election campaign. He's not worried about losing his political clout if he stands up to Donald Trump and tells him the truth. Like, Donald Trump has no power at this point. I mean, he's a lame duck president, but he was voted out of office. So why are you so afraid of him? How pathetic is that? By the way, a recent Reuters Ipsos poll found that 80% of Americans believe that Biden won the election. Okay, and that includes more than half of Republican voters, which is a good sign. I mean, I wish the percentage was higher among Republicans. And to be absolutely clear, it is terrifying that Trump keeps pushing this narrative of election fraud, because whether he genuinely believes it or not, I know that his supporters, his base, certainly latch onto every word. They believe everything he says, and that could lead to an unfortunate, violent situation in this country that we should be doing anything and everything to avoid. And so they're not just enabling Trump's bad behavior, they're essentially paving the way for civil unrest, possible civil unrest in this country. And it's absolutely disgusting, especially coming from someone who's supposed to be a national security advisor. Jesus.
Okay, so first of all, the 80% number is comforting. I'm surprised that it's that high, and I'm thrilled to hear it. But let's also note that about 40% of Republicans still don't think that Biden won. So that's a giant number. So that part is not at all comforting, and Donald Trump is nonstop egging him on. Now, do people inside the White House think that Donald Trump is either being honest or mentally stable, as he has said? No. I'd love to read you the next quote. A GOP source told the Daily Beast, "It's like dealing with a lunatic on the subway. Everyone just kind of sits and stares ahead and pretends that they can't hear him and waits for him to eventually get off." So the White House currently is almost literally like an insane asylum, where if you mention a magic name, the chief lunatic goes nuts and starts to fire people, lash out at people. So everybody's walking on eggshells like, oh, I wonder if we're gonna trigger the lunatic. And now they're literally saying it. He's like a lunatic that we have to deal with. And yet 40% of Republicans are like, oh no, I think the lunatic's right. I think the emperor does have clothes on. And everybody inside the White House has to pretend that he won. That's so sad. Oh God, just, I know you don't have a backbone. If you're one of those minions who works for an idiot lunatic like Trump, and all you've ever done is gotten ahead by licking his boots, you're the saddest, most pathetic guy. And now you have to spend the next 2 months going, no sir, of course sir, you won sir. Oh, I love how they've been unmanned. The whole party is pathetic.
All right, well, I want to go to someone who isn't pathetic at all, and it's a lieutenant governor. So, Pennsylvania Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman is nothing like his feckless counterpart, from Texas. In fact, he refuses to enable any of Donald Trump's terrible behavior and his unwillingness to accept the results of the election. So recently in an interview with CNN's John King, Fetterman mocked Trump's unfounded claims of voter fraud. Let's watch.
Bottom line, if ifs and buts were candy and nuts, the president would be on deck to have a better Thanksgiving than he's going to have. Math doesn't care about his feelings, doesn't care about anyone's feelings. The math in Pennsylvania is damning for the president. These contested late ballots, 10,000, oh no, we're going to take that to the Supreme Court. Take it to the Supreme Court. You know what? Spot the president all 10,000 for all I care, because the vice president is going to be up 50, 60,000 votes when all the counting is done, if not more. The bottom line is that there is no truth to any of this. And at some point, we all have to collectively accept that yelling voter fraud when there is no evidence whatsoever of it is yelling fire in a crowded theater, and it is harming the democratic franchise of our country and the peaceful transition to power, and we cannot accept that.
Now, he took the fight over to Twitter as well. I just want to read you this tweet because he decided to go after Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick of Texas, who has offered an up to $1 million reward for anyone who finds instances of voter fraud, and that individual ends up getting prosecuted and convicted of voter fraud. Well, in response to that, John Fetterman said this: "Hey, Governor Patrick, it's your counterpart in Pennsylvania. I'd like to collect your handsome reward for reporting voter fraud. I got a dude in 40 Fort, Pennsylvania, who tried to have his dead mom vote for Trump. I'd like mine in Sheets gift cards, please. P.S. The Cowboys blow."
All right, Fetterman was on the Young Turks when he was running. Some of you contributed to him and volunteered for him. Thank you. That's a badass Democrat right there. It turns out it's possible. And to the rest of the Democratic Party. So Fetterman punched the Republicans in the face proverbially, and he was 100% right. He did it with facts. That guy is a real person that he was alluding to, and he actually did get arrested. He is a Trump supporter and likely will get prosecuted and go to jail. By the way, if Fetterman really wanted to, he actually could take Patrick to court and say, "Give me $1 million." The idiot couldn't find one case, 0 cases of Democrats doing voter fraud. "Oh, give $1 million." Well, you just proved our case for us. You haven't given any money because there is no voter fraud from the Democrats, but there are from Republicans. So Fetterman's better than that. But guys, if you're a Democrat, fight. There's no downside to fighting. Is anyone saying, "Oh, Fetterman, I can't believe he said the Cowboys blow"? Yeah, he's from Pennsylvania. Steelers are obviously better than the Cowboys. He's just stating another fact.
Yeah. I don't know that last part. I just said yeah because I agreed with everything you said except the sports stuff because I don't know anything about the sports stuff. But Cowboys do sound kind of sucky, I guess.
They do. They are kind of
they're sucky. Okay,
yeah,
great.
Yes.
Anyway,
Steelers are the most progressive sports organization in the country.
What does that mean? Do the players own the team? Or?
No. Well, the Packers are communist. Literally, the fans own the team and they make no profit. It's publicly owned and they get no money. Okay, so the Packers as an organization is so far left, I don't agree with it. But the Steelers owners are very progressive. And so, especially the guy who started a franchise in the first place or bought it a long time ago, Rooney used to join the picket line when the players were striking. And he'd bring them beers and they'd drink beers together in the picket line. And the Rooney family has been progressive ever since. So Steelers representing actual American workers are awesome. Cowboys, of course, represent oil billionaires who are destroying the planet. Anyways, all right, guys, can you tell I'm a Steelers fan? So we're almost out of time here, but we have so much more. We're gonna do a giant post game today, and you gotta see that. So hit the join button below if you're on YouTube, tyt.com/join. Anywhere else at the Essentials level, you get all of our content, including the post game we're about to do. We'll see you there in a minute.
Thanks for listening to the full episode of The Young Turks. Support our work, listen ad-free, access members-only bonus content, and more by subscribing to Apple Podcasts at apple.co/TYT. I'm your host, Cenk Uygur, and I'll see you soon.